One night, for no good reason, I did the math on the hours I swore I didn't have. I'd been saying it for months. I don't have time. Said it about the same 20-minute thing since spring. And that night I actually added it up, where the day had really gone. It was all there. 40 minutes here, an hour there, scrolling, tidying a drawer that was already fine, rereading emails I'd already answered. Hours. All of them available. All of them spent on anything, except the one small thing I'd been too busy for since March. And it landed with a kind of quiet horror. I was never out of time. I was out of nerve. No time was just the receipt I kept printing for myself, so the books would look honest. Stay with me, and you'll learn to hear that sentence for what it actually is, the most respectable lie you tell all day, and the one thing it's always covering for. Because I don't have time almost never means what it says. It has another name, and once you learn it, you will not be able to unhear it in your own voice. Quick word before the story. I don't make these to be liked. I make them for the person who'd rather be caught than comforted. 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I take one comfortable lie apart. If that's you, subscribe and stay. And like it if I don't have time, just got a little harder to say with a straight face. Now, what I found underneath mine. For years, I don't have time was easily the most used sentence I owned. It was automatic. Someone would ask about the thing, and it would come out before I'd even thought about it. Smooth, reasonable, a little apologetic. I'd love to. I just don't have the time right now. And I want to be specific, because the vague version lets you off the hook. There was one thing. I'd wanted to sit down and actually write. Not for anyone, not to publish, just a thing I'd told myself for years I wanted to do. And every time it came near the top of the list, the sentence appeared. Not now. No time. Maybe when things calm down. I said that for, honestly, close to 2 years. About a thing that would have taken 20 minutes to start. And here's what made it so easy to believe. I really was busy. That's the trap. My calendar was genuinely full. So the sentence had evidence. It had an alibi. I could point at the packed week and feel completely justified, the responsible man, doing what had to be done, with no room left for extras. And I believed it completely. That's the part that matters. I wasn't lying to anyone else. I was the one I'd fooled. But the full calendar was never the actual damage. Somewhere underneath it, I'd made a decision, not about my schedule, but about a feeling. And I dressed that decision up as a clock. Here's the decision I'd actually made. I'd quietly agreed that I don't have time, and I'm avoiding this, were the same sentence. And once those two blur together, something very convenient happens. You get to run from things while looking productive. Because I did have the time. That's the uncomfortable part I kept not looking at. The hours weren't missing. They were leaking into the phone, into busy work, into 100 small, urgent, feeling nothings that were somehow never too much trouble. I always had 20 minutes for the thing that didn't scare me. I never had 20 minutes for the thing that did. That's not a scheduling pattern. That's a tell. And here's the link I really didn't want to see. I made a whole video on who you are when no one's watching, the self you keep performing past, the one in the quiet room you never actually enter. That writing I was too busy for? That was the room. Sitting down alone with my own thoughts, no audience, no task, just me and whatever came up. That was the exact thing I'd been avoiding. No time wasn't about the writing at all. It was the most polite way I had of standing myself up, again and again, for years, with a very good excuse. So being busy was never the problem. Using busy as a place to hide, that was the problem. But I couldn't see any of this clearly until I found out it had a name. A real one, from someone who mapped this exact move 100 years ago. The man was Sigmund Freud, Austrian, born 1856, the one who more or less invented the idea that most of your mind runs below the surface, out of your own sight. And one of the things he described fits, I don't have time, so precisely it's almost uncomfortable. He called it rationalization. Here's what it means, in plain terms. When you're driven by something you don't want to face, a fear, a shame, an urge, the mind doesn't hand you that raw thing. It's too much. So it quietly hands you a reason instead. A clean, logical, respectable reason for what you were going to do anyway. And here's the genius of it, the part that makes it so hard to catch. You don't experience it as an excuse. You experience it as the truth. You fully believe the reason. You have to. A lie you knew was a lie couldn't protect you from anything. And I don't have time is close to the perfect one. It's respectable. Nobody thinks less of you for being busy. It's almost impossible to challenge who's going to audit your calendar. And it points out there, at the clock, instead of in here, at the fear. Your own mind hands you a scheduling problem, so you never have to sit down with the feeling underneath it. Modern psychology backs him up, which genuinely surprised me. Researchers who study procrastination landed on something Freud would have recognized. It isn't really a time management problem at all. It's an emotion management one. You don't delay the task because it won't fit in the day. You delay it to put off the feeling it stirs up, the anxiety, the self-doubt, the small flinch of dread right before you start. Push away the task, and you get to push away the emotion just for now. That's the real machinery. No time is only the receipt. But naming it didn't fix it. It almost never does. Understanding a trap and actually stepping out of it are two very different acts. The thing that finally turned it came later, and it came from somewhere I didn't choose. Let me step out of the story a second, honestly. The reason I can take my own excuse apart on camera, name it, sit in how unflattering it is that I spent years fully believing it. This channel exists to do exactly that, out loud, in public. And it runs on people funding it directly, not on an algorithm that rewards the comfortable, agreeable version of every idea. That independence is the only reason I can tell you your favorite excuse is fear instead of selling you a planner. If that's worth something to you, the Buy Me a Coffee link's in the description. Pay what you want, or nothing, and stay. Because the night I stopped trusting my own clock, is next. And it wasn't willpower, it was arithmetic. The turn wasn't a decision. It wasn't a burst of discipline or some morning I woke up changed. It was arithmetic. Boring, humiliating arithmetic. It was that night I mentioned, the one where I actually added up the hours. I wasn't trying to fix anything. I was almost defending myself, in my own head, building the case for how genuinely slammed I was. So I started counting, expecting the ledger to prove me right. And it did the opposite. 20 minutes reading something I wouldn't remember the next day. 40 checking things that didn't need checking. An hour easily on the phone doing nothing I chose. On and on. By the end I was staring at something like 3 hours of that single ordinary day, and every one of them had somehow flowed around the same 20-minute thing, like water going around a stone. And that's when the sentence finally broke. Because you cannot look at 3 empty hours and still say, I don't have time, with a straight face. The time was right there. It had been there the whole time. What I didn't have was the willingness to sit down and feel whatever that writing was going to make me feel. The exposure, the fear it be bad, the fear it matter. The clock was never full. I was just scared, holding a clock. That's the whole reframe, and it's not a comforting one. I don't have time had never once been a fact about my schedule. It was a feeling I refused to feel, wearing the costume of a fact. And a feeling doesn't go on a calendar. It just quietly bills your calendar instead and lets you pay in years. So I stopped trusting that sentence on sight. And I started doing one small, uncomfortable thing whenever it showed up. Now, when I don't have time comes up my throat, and it still does, it's a lifelong reflex, not a habit you delete. I don't argue with my schedule. I don't try to find the time, or optimize the day, or shame myself into the task. I do one thing. I stop, and I ask a different question. What am I actually avoiding feeling right now? And then I make myself answer it out loud or on paper, in plain words. Not, I'm busy. The real thing. I'm scared this'll be bad. I don't want to feel stupid. I'm afraid that if I try and it doesn't work, I lose the excuse. Naming the feeling is the entire move. Because I don't have time is smooth and painless, and the truth underneath it always stings a little. The sting is how you know you've found it. Notice what I'm not doing. I'm not forcing myself to then go do the task. That's the version everyone expects. Name the fear, feel the burn, power through. I don't. Sometimes I name it and I still don't do the thing. But I've stopped being allowed to pretend it was the clock. I took away the alibi and left just the honest sentence sitting there. I have time. I'm choosing not to because I'm afraid. That's it. That's the whole practice. It's smaller than a system and harder than one. But I'm not going to sell you the productivity that supposedly follows, because more productivity isn't really what any of this gave me. Let me be honest about what actually changed, because it's smaller and stranger than a success story. I did not become more productive. I want to say that plainly, because this is exactly where a video like this is supposed to tell you it transformed my output, and I now do the thing every morning at dawn. It didn't, and I don't. Some of the things I was avoiding, I still avoid. The reflex to reach for no time still fires, all the time. Here's the one thing that's different. I can't hide behind the clock anymore. That's it. That's the whole prize. The excuse used to be seamless. I'd say no time and feel genuinely justified, no friction, no cost. Now the sentence comes out and a second voice, quiet and unimpressed, says, "That's not true, and you know it." The lie stopped working on me. I lost the comfort of my favorite excuse and got nothing shiny in return except the truth. And I'll be straight. Some of what I found under no time, I'd have rather not seen. When you stop blaming the clock, the fears that were hiding behind it don't disappear. They just lose their disguise and stand there in the open with their real names, waiting. That's not peace. It's not a glow-up. It's just a man who can no longer lie to himself with a calendar. But if I don't have time is your sentence too, and I think you already know if it is, then here's the part that's actually yours. So I'm not going to give you a routine. No time blocking, no morning system, no 5 ways to reclaim your day. That would just be me handing your fear a nicer calendar to hide in. Same trick, better app. Here's the only thing. The next time, I don't have time, comes out of your mouth, and it will, probably today, don't let it stand alone. Finish the sentence. Out loud, or just to yourself honestly, I don't have time for it, becomes, I'm avoiding blank. And then fill in the blank with the truth, not the tidy version. Not, it's not a priority. The real one. What would it actually make you feel to sit down and do that thing? You don't have to then go do it. That's not the ask. You can still choose not to. Some things genuinely can wait. The only ask is that you stop charging your fear to your calendar. Stop making your schedule take the blame for a feeling you won't look at. Say the honest version, even once, even quietly. I have the time. I'm avoiding the feeling. Because you already know what goes in that blank. You knew before I said any of this. You've known every single time the sentence left your mouth. The clock was never the thing standing between you and your life. You were. And I don't have time was just the kindest way you'd found to say so. Remember the math from the very start, the 3 hours that were there the whole time. You've got a version of that ledger too. You already know roughly what's in it. So here's where a few of us stop pretending together. In the comments, finish the sentence, honestly. I keep saying I don't have time for blank, and what I'm actually avoiding is blank. Both blanks. The real answer, not the presentable one. Reading a whole wall of those is a strange kind of relief. It turns out none of us are nearly as busy as we claim. We're just scared in a socially acceptable way. And writing yours down is the first time the fear has to stand there without the clock in front of it. Send this to the person who's so busy they never do the one thing they keep saying they want. They'll know. And if you want a space that keeps calling this stuff by its real name, funded by people who decided it should exist, not by an algorithm, the link's in the description. Not charity. Fuel for the kind of honesty that doesn't perform well. I'll be here Wednesday.